Welcome to This Explainer. In our journey toward pureness and a truly balanced, intentional lifestyle, we often talk about the daily choices we make. But did you know that true wisdom and our local environments play an absolutely massive role in how long we're actually here on Earth? Today, we are diving into a landmark public health study by Dr. Raj Chetty and his colleagues. And they didn't just look at a few thousand people. No, they analyzed over 1.4 billion de-identified U.S. tax and mortality records. To put that into perspective, it's basically like analyzing the lifespan and income of almost every single person in North and South America combined. We're going to use this mountain of data to uncover the objective truth about who lives the longest and exactly why.
It's a question we've all thought about, right? Why does some of us live so much longer than others? We usually just chalk it up to luck or maybe having really great genetics, but I want us to take a reflective moment here. Think about how our daily choices, and even more surprisingly, the specific local environments we surround ourselves with, might literally dictate our time on this earth. As we look through this data together, we aren't just looking at cold, hard statistics. We're looking at the stark realities of human life and the profound impact of the spaces we choose to inhabit.
Section 1. The 15-year gap.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Between 1999 and 2014, researchers analyzed an almost unfathomable amount of data to measure the exact relationship between household earnings and life expectancy. And what they found was this massive, undeniable gap, which we often call the wealth-health gradient. When you map the expected age at death against household income, you get this continuous, undeniable upward slope. For both men and women, there is literally no magical threshold where income suddenly stops mattering. Higher income is associated with greater longevity throughout the entire distribution, from the very bottom all the way up to the very top.
Now, I want you to just let the sheer weight of this number sink in for a second. For men, the gap in expected age at death between the richest 1% and the poorest 1% is a staggering 14.6 years. For women, it's 10.1 years. That is a profound call to awareness. To put that 10-year gap for women into perspective, the researchers noted it's equivalent to the loss of longevity from a lifetime of smoking. This isn't just some statistical anomaly comparing billionaires to the extremely poor. It's a reflection of a systemic gradient, where every single step down the income ladder correlates directly with a shorter lifespan.
And here's the thing, this gap isn't just sitting still. It has actually been widening. Between 2001 and 2014, those at the very top, the top 5% of the income distribution, gained nearly 3 years of life expectancy. 3 extra years! Meanwhile, individuals down in the bottom 5% saw almost no gain at all. The data paints a pretty stark picture of a society pulling apart, where the blessing of a longer life is increasingly concentrated among those who already possess the most financial resources.
Section 2. Stewardship of the body.
So if we want to truly understand what drives these disparities, we really have to look closely at our day-to-day lives. A very common assumption is that lower life expectancy for those with less income is simply about a lack of access to doctors or disparities in Medicare and health insurance. Makes sense, right? Well, the reality revealed in the data is quite surprising. The study found that for the poorest quartile, life expectancy was not strongly correlated with the fraction of uninsured individuals in their area or even the quality of the local hospital care. Instead, the true driver of longevity comes down to our daily health behaviors.
The geographic differences in life expectancy for individuals in the lowest income quartile were actually significantly correlated with specific health behaviors. We're talking about intentional, daily choices in how we treat the temples of our bodies. Lower smoking rates, lower obesity levels, higher exercise frequency. These daily habits of pureness matter immensely. It turns out that for lower-income individuals, the absolute strongest predictors of living a longer life are tied directly to these behavioral factors, way more than strictly clinical interventions or sheer medical access.
Section 3. The power of community.
Let's transition now from our individual habits to a broader communal view, because the data emphatically shows that where and how we live together profoundly matters. When we break the United States down by commuting zones, we see this incredible variation in life expectancy for the bottom income quartile. For folks in this lowest income bracket, life expectancy differed by about 4.5 years simply based on their local environment, meaning two people with the exact same low income can have vastly different life expectancies just because of the city or town they happen to call home.
To put this into perspective, just imagine two men, both in the exact same low-income bracket. If one lives in New York City, his expected age at death is 79.5 years.
But if the other lives in Gary, Indiana, his expected age at death drops to just 74.2 years. That is more than a 5-year difference. It is a stunning realization that our shared environments, local policies, and neighborhood dynamics can literally dictate the length of our lives.
And this brilliantly illustrates something fascinating. Whether you live in New York, San Francisco, Dallas, or Detroit, the wealthiest individuals live a long time almost everywhere. High income essentially acts as a buffer against local environmental factors. But for low-income individuals, geography is destiny. Highly educated, affluent cities actually bridge the longevity gap for their poorest residents. A low-income individual living in San Francisco or New York lives substantially longer than their exact income counterpart down in Detroit or Dallas. The environment itself is acting as a protective shield.
So, what do these high-performing communities of wisdom have in common? How are they lifting each other up? Well, the study found that communities promoting longer lives for their most vulnerable residents share some specific characteristics. They tend to have high fractions of college graduates, robust local government expenditures, and higher immigrant populations. Now, while the data didn't show a strong link to traditional measures of social capital like religiosity, the overarching theme is undeniable. Cities with healthy environments, strong public services, and educated populations create this beautiful protective spillover effect that actively lifts everyone up.
Section 4. Choosing an intentional life.
As we draw this explainer to a close, let's take a step back and reflect on what these profound findings mean for living purely and purposefully. The authors concluded that differences in life expectancy were highly correlated with health behaviors and local area characteristics. The wealth-health gradient is incredibly real, absolutely, but it is not absolute destiny. The environment we build and the daily behaviors we maintain are the absolute strongest levers we have. True stewardship means treating our finances, our lifestyle, and our community involvement as vital tools for a long, pure life. This data provides a crucial roadmap, showing us exactly where to focus our efforts to improve life expectancy for everyone.
So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If our zip code is just as important as our genetic code, how will you build an environment of wellness and wisdom in your own life? We have the massive data sets now, and we know exactly which behavioral and environmental factors add real years to human life. The question is whether we have the intentionality and the collective will to build those supportive environments, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep choosing wisdom, and I'll see you next time.